of Universal's The Mummy, and I actually was pretty disappointed by my recent viewing of the film, or the first viewing, I should say. The film is alright, and I can definitely see why someone would like it, mostly because of Boris Karloff, who's great in pretty much everything he's in, but the rest of the film falls very flat for me. Really anything happens, like, at all, like, and it's very slow paced, and by the time I feel like it's getting going, it just immediately ends in a really odd spot, which in my opinion is not a showman of a great film. Because this is Universal's first original horror idea that wasn't based on a book by original concept that would eventually spawn its own franchise as well as a famous rebooted franchise in the 1990s. During this time period, people were discovering a lot of stuff about ancient Egypt and the artifacts, mostly through British people stealing all that crap. In fact, people are supposed to be British, but they sound very American, so that's fail automatically. And being someone that's also interested in ancient Egyptian artifacts, in fact, I'm partly writing a book about Egyptian mythology right now, and I was actually drawing a page for it as I was watching this movie, which felt very good. But you'll be sad to know there's really not a whole lot there. Just the mummy's like, yeah, I'm gonna find my love, and that's most of the movie, really. And the way the curse is even lifted is pretty stupid. So some really bad actor sees a box that says "Don't open." He's like, "Well, I want to open Toph's box because Toph relocks stuff." I thought he read knowledge, not locked knowledge, but whatever. I guess the filmmakers didn't study Egyptian mythology because they clearly messed up the fact that Toph's the god who's a peacemaker and also gave humans knowledge of writing and shit like that, but whatever. So this makes the mummy come alive, and this is a typical mummy at first, but if you go on, we see that the actual mummy looks just kind of like a generic guy with a little bit of like makeup on, I guess. And the mummy's like, yeah, I want this. This is mine. And the guy has the weirdest reaction to it. After giving a very unconvincing scream, he starts to laugh, and yeah, I think it's the last we ever see of this character. I do not know. One of the biggest problems with this film is that I don't know a lot about the extra side characters. I feel like they're interchangeable. Like, I didn't keep track of them. I'm sorry, but there's like one girl who was like the reincarnation, and that's pretty much it. For other than the main mummy himself, everyone else was so forgettable. They literally left with zero impact, and that's really bad in a movie. Like, I really forget about any of the characters, and that's pathetic. Like, there's a bunch of characters just doing basic things like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And, like, well, why am I supposed to find these guys interesting? Because they're not. Can we go back to the mummy? Because these guys suck. And I guess there's a guy who likes the girl, but the girl doesn't seem to care that much about him. But they're like, you should go after her, even though they have zero chemistry. Like, what? This is such a terrible subplot. Like, this is like, oh, here's the redeeming quality, but it fails miserably. Because the guy sucks, and I don't even know his name, and we don't even care about the relationship because they have no relationship. You know you failed when the relationship we're supposed to see happen sucks, and the one that you're not supposed to want to see happen actually seems more believable, which even then is not that great. So essentially, the plot is kind of convoluted, where the mummy's like, yeah, you're my descendant of my princess that I loved, and they killed me for loving her, and yeah, that part was actually kind of cool. The flashback was neat, but I don't know why this would link her to his dead wife. Wouldn't he want to be dead again, or to see her again? I don't know why this would even involve her, or, wouldn't she be the same, or not at all? I don't really know. She get hypnotized to be with him anyway, so why would it matter that she has to die? I don't really get it. Unless there is an Egyptian afterlife that he didn't want to go back to, but we don't really see that either, so I just don't really understand it. Yeah. And while Boris Karloff is great in this film, he's kind of emotionless. He's mostly just trying to be scary, but he's supposed to showcase that he really loves this girl, but I don't feel it. And it's a shame because I know he can do it. I've seen Bride of Frankenstein. He does an excellent job in that movie showcasing a range of emotions, but here he's kind of like, yes, I love you. And it's like, okay, it works being creepy, but it doesn't really work convincingly me that this guy really loves the girl rather than just doing whatever. He's just doing this because he does it. And that's pretty much most of the movie. There's not a whole lot after that. Just kind of describing what I just described to you in pretty much an hour and 10 minutes, whatever long this movie is. And since this is an early sound film, there's not a whole lot of musical score here. So like The Wolfman, you don't have a lot to listen to, really. Just guys explaining stuff that I already know. That's lovely. In a weird way, I feel like this movie might have been better if it was a silent film, because it feels like it's treated like it is a silent film, the way it's set up, and all the dialogue feels out of place. It might actually worked better that way, but oh well, this is the film we got, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I definitely was disappointed, especially compared to the other Universal movies I saw, especially ones that came out around this time, because Frankenstein and Dracula are way better than The Mummy. Sorry to say, Mummy fans, but I'm just not a big fan of your film, and I'm sorry. I think the ending's the weirdest part, so I guess the Umatep did his sacrificial right, and he turns back to Mummy for a brief second there. And then the girl's like dazed, and she guy's like, "Please come back to me." And then I think something happens, like the mummy's like a skeleton now, and yeah, end the end apparently. What a weird ending. So despite some great sets and some good makeup design for the time, this film kind of falls flat. It feels like it needed a couple of rewrites. It feels like a very rough draft of idea of a film, especially one that was originally in silent film. They transitioned it over to sound. That's how it feels, and honestly, I'm not the biggest fan. Universal has a lot better monster movies than this one, I feel, but that's just my personal opinion. If you love this movie, then good for you, but didn't do anything for me, and I'm sorry.